Let's get started, Jake. How about that? Ready?
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good. All right. Welcome, everyone. We are here today from VCA Green, and we are going to be talking about the West Hollywood Equitable Building Performance Standard, also known as EBPS. And per WeHo, as we call West Hollywood, expecting a cleaner, healthier WeHo. That's the objective here. So let's get started.
Sounds good.
I'm Marika. I'm a principal at VCA Green, formerly the founder and CEO of Green Economy. Green Economy was acquired by VCA Consultants on Halloween of 2025. So now we are part of the VCA Green team. I come with 15 years of and construction experience, previously an accounting person with a lot of financial background. So I really focus on the money aspects of commercial real estate. And today with me, I have one of our sales reps, Jake Goldstein.
How's it going, everybody? A little bit about me before you hear me talk for an hour. So, like Marika said, sales rep at VCA Green. I've been here for about 2 years. We were, Green Economy, and now, VCA Green. So my tenure is about 2 years there. I'm an active member of Urban Land Institute. I'm on the Young Leaders Board. I'm the membership chair, so gives me some good visibility. And I'm an LA native, born and raised. I've been in LA my whole life. I don't plan on moving anytime soon. It is my job to stay on top of all of these California-based ordinances, and West Hollywood isn't any different. It is my job to be an expert on these ordinances, and very happy to do so.
Hey, I'm a native too.
No
How about
way.
that? Yeah.
Go Valley. 818.
Go San Fernando Valley. Yeah. All right.
818 till we die.
Yeah. Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? We wanted to let you know that it is going to be recorded and we will distribute the slides and the recording. And if you have any questions, please feel free to submit them via the chat. What are we going to talk about today? Why building performance matters and what it's all about. What is the West Hollywood EBPS ordinance about, and really understanding what that means and the process behind it. Money, show me the money. Is there any money out there that can help with the retrofits that are required? Always want to bring that up, and then we'll have some live Q&A. So what we thought would be interesting is to do a little poll to see who is in our audience today. So if you wouldn't mind filling this out and just give us an idea, that would be great.
Maybe we should get some pull music next time.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Do do do. I know, like for a game show kind of thing. Yeah,
It's like 5 seconds.
yeah. All right. So we'll get back to those poll results, I guess. Okay, let's get going. So why does building performance matters? Let's talk about that a little bit. So, energy costs have always been part of a P&L, profit and loss statement for any property. It's always been one of those costs that people have kind of, oh, I got to pay it. I'm ignoring it. Maybe it gets really high and you call a consultant. But generally, a lot of people don't really know what to do with it. And most people don't even know how to read their electric bill, which I think are intentionally confusing. Anyway, so it's no longer just an operating cost. We're seeing in the market with everything going on, it's really a kind of a strategic factor in asset performance, meaning the value of your building is tied to that performance and that efficiency. What's interesting is that energy costs have risen at 2 times since 2014. There are over 50 building performance standards right now across the country, and investors, lenders, and tenants are getting more interested in what that performance is of the building's energy performance. It does matter. So there's a lot more interest in that. I can see that in conferences that I attend. Interestingly, here you can see the energy and demand and what's going on with it since 1970. And I think this is going to be an interesting graph when we look at it next year. with everything going on in the Middle East. But you can see that the demand for electricity usage is continuing to rise, and that the real price, if you look at here at 1970, a cost per kWh was probably 10 cents. Now it's over 30 cents. We were looking at a property in Bakersfield, which is PG&E, and it was 49 cents per kWh. So, wow, cost of energy is continuing to rise. So that's just one of the things that's important to focus on. So why? Why is it going up? Is just an important part of this to understand is the demand for electricity is rising. I was at a conference last week and in Washington State, and they were talking about how hydro has been, which is a very clean energy on the grid, how it was managed, being able to actually provide all the energy that the city of Seattle and Washington needed, but now with the rising EV demands, the electrification of buildings, which means you're getting rid of gas boilers and replacing them with hot water heat pumps. You're getting rid of furnaces and getting putting in a heat pump into your property instead. All of that is increasing the demand for electricity. And then you add AI, right? And all the demand data centers that are required for AI, it's just going to continue to raise the demand and also the cost. A lot of the infrastructure across the country is over 100 years old, so you've got a lot of that modernization happening. Climate, obviously, destroying electrical infrastructure is also a problem. Market volatility right now, we see what's going on in the Middle East and how that's going to be affecting costs, but also transparency and awareness. These benchmarking laws, like the one we're going to talk about here in a minute, is kind of the way that cities want owners to understand how their buildings are performing so they can reduce their energy use. Why do they care? Well, because the emissions associated with buildings, commercial buildings, are about 40% of the emissions that go out into the planet. So most 40% of that is coming from commercial buildings. So how do we reduce that to reduce the emissions that go out into the atmosphere and affect climate change? Interestingly, still is the public energy disclosure is still hot. ESG, environmental social governance, even though it's become kind of a bad word in this administration, it's still going strong. I was at a conference 2 months ago, and there are still a lot of investors very concerned about making sure their buildings are efficient. Also, California has a new climate law, SB 253. Risk assessment is a huge area. Valuation impact of inefficient buildings is not to be forgotten. So there's a lot going on in this space right now, and it's important to really understand it and understand how your building's performing. All right. One thing I find interesting is that these energy disclosure laws have been spreading across the country. They are basically a strategy for cities and states to develop an action plan on how to reduce energy use and reach a certain level of emissions in their cities and states. It reduces those emissions, cause the air to be cleaner, the buildings to be more efficient, and cost less to operate. Generally, these laws have a phase one and a phase two. Phase one is generally for buildings between 20,000 to 50,000 and above. Phase two is really focused on these BPS, building performance standards, where you have to do something with your building, not just report on it annually as in phase one. And you can see the blue and the kind of pink dots are where benchmarking is required, and also BPS is also required. So you can see these laws are kind of all over the country. They're not just in California. And I thought this was, I wanted to see like where have we gone? Because I started green economy in 2009. So at that point, there were about six jurisdictions, and now we're over 20. Well, actually more, we're at like 50. So you can see the growth of these standards. The point is that they want building owners to understand how their buildings operate, so then they can reduce the energy consumption and those emissions to make their environments more clean. Okay, let's get into the details here, Jake.
All right, everybody, get excited. It's my turn. West Hollywood Equitable Building Performance Standards, EBPS. Let's go over the high level first. The why, the what, the who. The why. It's to address energy use, public health, and economic opportunity within the community of West Hollywood. The what's energy benchmarking disclosure and building performance standards. We'll go over more of those in subsequent slides. And the who, existing commercial and multifamily buildings, 20,000 square feet or larger, need to comply. We broke it up into two buckets, more or less, phase one and phase two. Phase one is energy benchmarking, which is essentially just energy reporting. We'll get more to that on the next slide. Third party verification, verifying the benchmarking is correct. And then phase two, the building performance standards themselves, the BPS, as well as ongoing maintenance and penalty enforcement. Next slide, please. What is benchmarking? Right? It is the cornerstone of this law and of many other laws. So, what is it? Right? Benchmarking is essentially just energy reporting, and it provides you three metrics that are used to evaluate the energy efficiency of your building. They act as the vital signs, right? You go to the doctor, they take your blood tests. This is essentially a blood test for your building. The three important ones that the city of West Hollywood care about is your Energy Star score, your site EUI, and your total GHG emission intensity. What are those? Your Energy Star score is a score out of 100, the higher the better, that compares your energy usage to all of the similar properties in the software. So, for example, if you're a multifamily building, it will compare your energy usage across every other multifamily building in the software. Like I said, the higher the better. If your score is at 100, fantastic, you're doing great. I would say if you're 75 or below, give us a call. We can help you out. It is just a comparative measure of your building's energy efficiency across similar property types in the software. Site EUI, so that's how much energy your building is using on its site. EUI stands for energy use intensity. It standardizes electricity and gas into one metric as a per square foot measure. So you can compare apples to apples, right? It's just, what's your electricity usage, what's your gas usage, put those together, divided by the square foot. That gives you a number. The lower, the better. And can be an apples comparison across your entire portfolio. All right. The final one is total GHG emissions intensity. So that's how much, emissions, GHG emissions your building is emitting into the atmosphere on a per square foot basis, and lower the better that metric as well. Energy Star score, higher the better. Site EUI, lower the better. GHG intensity, lower the better. Vital signs of your building. It's the cornerstone of every sustainability ordinance in the country. Very important.
Yeah,
Marika,
and I
did I miss?
think Oh, sorry. And I think it's important to note that this is a progress and goals report that comes off the Energy Star software that we use. And it's really nice. You can see you can do a baseline before you started doing retrofits or when the reporting started, and then you can have a current year as well. So you can see how your building is progressing and various metrics that are associated with your building. So it's a really good, as Jake said, a good indicator of how your building is performing, and we're happy to always explain these metrics to anyone when we're benchmarking a building.
Data is king, and we do include a consultation with all of our benchmarking services. So very happy to sit down with all of you. Okay, I believe next slide, please. Okay, great. So benchmarking part of the phase one, it is required every single year via Energy Star Portfolio Manager. We basically take your utilities, upload it into the software, and it displays your energy usage and water usage if you decide to do that as well. The three metrics that we discussed, Energy Star score, site EUI, GHGI, those are the three metrics that West Hollywood cares about and the primary output of the benchmarking. And the deadline. So the deadline to file your benchmarking is September 15th, 2026 for 2025 data. It's due in 26, but it's for the prior year's data. It is due September 15th. It used to be due May 15th. They pushed it back, but in subsequent years in 27, 28, it's going to be that May 15th deadline as well. They just gave the first year a little bit of a grace period. So May 15th next year, September 15th this year. You can't improve what you don't accurately measure, right? So data is king. That's the point of this, to measure your energy efficiency over time. Next slide, please. Now, phase 1.5, the data verification. So once you do the benchmarking, you need a third-party service to come in and verify that the benchmarking is correct. This is due only for the 2026 reporting year, so 2025 benchmarking data. These are the qualifications you need in order to do the data verification. The good news is we got you covered. So don't worry about it. We got you covered. Marika, anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting that this is part of this ordinance. It's not been mandated with a lot of the earlier ordinances that have come into existence, but the recent ordinances, including, let's say, the city of Denver with their Energized Denver, and now WeHo, and also I believe Santa Monica is going to have it as well, is that you have to make sure the data is correct. And why is that? Well, there's a couple of service providers out there that aren't doing it very accurately. And what they've realized is that this, you pay for what you get, and sometimes those inexpensive approaches mean that the data isn't actually accurate, and then you're defining your next step on phase two on that inaccurate data. So now with this data verification, they're actually making sure that the data is accurate. The person that you did, the company that did the data, the benchmarking cannot do the data verification, and that gives opportunities for different people to get involved. But the most important thing here is got to be accurate. It's got to be verified by one of these professionals, and it's interesting to me that they've put this in as a standard. And I'm sure they might even, they're saying right now it's only for 2026, but who knows? It might be for any of the other following years as well.
Great. So phase two, all right, phase one, benchmarking verification. Phase two is where we get into the BPS standards of the ordinance or law. BPS stands for Building Performance Standards. So the benchmarking that you do in 2026, reporting your 2026 data from 2025 is going to set your baseline year for the energy efficiency targets you need to meet in 28 and 32, 2028 and 2032. You have two paths here. Your building is doing great. You don't need to make any improvements, and you just need to submit your benchmarking every year. You're already hitting those targets. Or your building needs significant energy efficiency measures to hit those BPS targets, and you need to put together a building performance path where you're outlining how you're going to get your building to those energy efficiency targets. Just one note, those BPS standards depend on your building's asset type, and those have not been published yet. We're still waiting for that from the city, but you essentially have two paths. You either meet them or you don't. Next slide, please. So what does a BPS look like? So first and foremost, the North Star of the BPS is 80% GHG reduction aggregated across all covered buildings. So high level where this is going is 80% reduction across the entire building stock in West Hollywood. And this is its timeline. Like I've been saying, baseline year, data from 2025, reporting year 2026. That's where you currently stand, and that's where your baseline year is going to be. You're going to have to either submit either a report that you meet the energy efficiency targets or you don't in 28 and 32 with eventual 80% reduction in 36. It is a 10-year horizon. You have plenty of time, but things take longer than people think, and you should probably get started now if you already know whether or not you're going to need to improve your building or not. Next slide, please. Exemptions. I'm not going to read these off to you. If you feel like you need, or if you feel like you meet any of these exemptions, we are happy to submit those for free. Reach out to either me or Marika if you feel like you meet any of these exemptions, and we will happily submit the paperwork to the city for you. Next slide. Timeline. So this is the 10-year timeline that the city of West Hollywood has implemented through the ordinance. As we can see, the Energy Star benchmarking is due every single year. That's an annual requirement. The third-party data verification is only due in reporting your 2026 for 2025 data to make sure that your baseline year is correct. You have to either prove that you're meeting those building efficiency standards or present a plan to eventually meet those building performance standards in 28 and 32. And by the time 36 comes around, the idea is that the entire building stock, 20,000 square feet or above, which is a little over 300 buildings, are meeting that 80% GHG reduction. Like I said, you have 10 years, but that goes by quickly. You should probably get started if you haven't already and feel like you will need to. Next slide, please. Penalties. So there are penalties if you don't do the benchmarking. There are penalties if you don't meet the BPS. High level, just do it so you don't need to worry about it. Reach out to us. Next slide. Marika?
All right, let's talk about show me the money. Like, let's see if there's money or not. So the real cost, I mean, a lot of times I talk to people and they're like, oh, I don't want to comply. I don't care. Well, one, this WeHo ordinance has penalties, so they are going to fine you, not like maybe some of the other cities that are sitting on their hands in this area. But really, besides the penalties, is that if you don't comply, you really have no idea what's really going on in your building, right? And if you have an inefficient building, if those metrics show that you have an inefficient building, that means someone, whether it's the tenant or the owner, someone is paying more energy, more cost for their energy than they should. So it's really very much tied to cost. If you have an inefficient building, somebody's paying for it. So, and obviously that reduces your NOI and reduces your asset value if you don't have an efficient building. One thing too that's important in the capital spend part of this is really understanding how your building's major pieces of mechanical equipment, what the timing is on as far as replacement. It's a lot, as anyone knows, when you're rushing to fix something and when it broke, it's going to cost you a lot more than you actually plan for it to be replaced as it's starting to fail or you notice it's had some issues rather than just waiting till the last minute. So, you know, focusing on that capital spend and being wise in the way that you make sure that these pieces of equipment are retrofit so you can meet these BPS standards. Occupants and investor, there is more interest in that. I spoke to a commercial broker this week and he was saying, yeah, people are interested now. People are caring about what's going on with their energy costs because it is a big indicator of what what your operating costs are going to be in that building. And again, building valuation, if you have an obsolete building and you're not putting money into it, it's obviously not going to be worth as much money. And energy efficiency adds value. We see that. So good news that the EBPS, the West Hollywood, does have some funding from the Clean Power Alliance to support energy audits and retrocommissioning. Retrocommissioning means you're going into a building and making sure that the systems, the mechanical systems, are operating as designed. So that's a very important area that sometimes buildings can kind of move off their schedules or their intended efficiencies. And that's just a smaller change that can happen within a building and that you can save energy. They also have technical advising on energy upgrades, and they also have assistance with those building performance action plans. They even have some direct energy improvements such as heat pumps and electric upgrades and insulation that they can help you with. So their funding obviously is not is limited, and they're prioritizing equitable equity eligible buildings. So if you are one of those classified, you would be, it would behoove you to benchmark right away so to understand how your building is performing and then take advantage of this funding since it is limited. One of the other hot areas of how to finance these retrofits, because a lot of buildings are going to need them to meet these reduction requirements, is PACE financing. Property Assessed Clean Energy is what PACE stands for. It's basically money, it's a bond that's issued in the city, and you can pay for your entire retrofit with those bonds. It becomes part of your capital stack. It can be also include seismic retrofits. Basically, no cash out to do the work on your building. It becomes an assessment on your property taxes, kind of like a Mello-Roos, and it can be 10, 30 years. It depends obviously on what you're looking for and how long you want to keep a building, but it does stay with the building if it is sold. So that's kind of a benefit, but might also be a hurdle depending upon the buyer, but also a big hurdle. And I just heard this on another project is the lender would not allow it. They're generally, these PACE loans are first tier on a refinancing stack, and the lender must approve it. And one of the lenders in a solar project said, no, we're not going to be second tier, so you can't get the money. So that's a very important consideration. But overall, it's a good way to have money come in, do the retrofits on your building, add it to your property taxes, and have those energy savings right away. So a couple quick case studies on, well, what would I do if I needed to meet these BPS requirements? What are the things I should do? Number one thing is LED retrofit. It's your lowest hanging fruit. No doubt. I mean, fluorescent lights can't even be purchased anymore in California. They're not supposed to be. It's one of the easiest things, an immediate reduction in energy use. Here's an example of a LED project we did for an office building where we saved 136,000 energy. KWH, there's an energy cost savings, then there's a maintenance savings because LEDs last much longer than fluorescent lights, like 50,000 versus 8,000 hours. And then fluorescent lights create heat. So you also have an HVAC savings when you remove those fluorescents. So you add those all together and you've got 62,000 of annual cost savings, which is a lot of money. Payback on this project was 3 years, ROI 32%, net present value of 432,000, and IRR of 30,000. Kind of a no-brainer. And if you take that savings and divide it by that cap rate, it's a $895,000 increase in value for a total investment of 187,000. So this is kind of a no-brainer and a great example of how investing in your building will increase the value of your property. So this one is hot in the way that it's very, we've heard a lot about what's going on. This is part of the Inflation Reduction Act, is these federal tax credits, the ITC. And unfortunately, they're still here, and a lot of people think they're gone. But for solar and battery storage systems, currently there's all kinds of federal tax credits. There's depreciation. There's state depreciation. There's a tax, an IRA community tax benefit. So when you look at all of this, it's about 60% of the project is tax benefits, which is a really big amount, right? Payback on this was 3.7. We're going to have first year of energy savings of 31,000. Savings over 25 years is a 1.4. Tricky right now if you are interested in a solar project or you've been sitting on the fence. You have to have paid down at least 5% of it before the end of June of this year. You already have to deal with fiat, which is foreign entities of concern. Materials can't be only certain percentages of materials for China, nothing from Russia or Iran or North Korea. So the price of the system might be more. However, if you don't pay that 5% down before the end of June, if you do that, you have 4 years in which to develop the solar system, which is great. It's plenty of time. Otherwise, if you don't safe harbor that in, you have to put in the system by the end of next year, 2027, it needs to be active. And that I think is a really big jump, especially because you have to have the utilities involved. So if you were considering solar as an investment to help with that GHG reduction and increase in efficiency, you kind of have to move on it right away if you're going to do it. So VCA Green, our energy strategy with these BPS laws is really understanding how that the benchmarking results are. What does that show us? Making sure the third-party verification, if we're not doing the benchmarking, we will verify the data for you to make sure it is accurate and can review it with you in a consultation. We also have a great dashboard, so if you have multiple buildings, you can look at how all your buildings are performing. We plan, right? If you have a building that needs planning on retrofits, it's an area that we really do like to focus on and help building owners meet those objectives. We conduct audits, ASHRAE level 1, 2, and 3, and commissioning reports. We kind of do all kinds of data analysis and understanding the bills and the time of use charges of when you're actually using energy. We are no longer contractors, but we are owners reps, so we can help you with connecting you with our vetted subcontractors to make sure that the project is successful. Again, we're looking at all the money, what kind of incentives, utility incentives, and tax deductions that may be available. We're all about that. And then really making sure that the building is operating at the higher efficiency and meeting those targets in 28, 32, and 36. The 10 years is going to come quickly, and you're going to have to really stay on top of how your building is performing to meet these requirements. Feel free to reach out to either myself or Jake. We will be having two more of these webinars coming up to just keep everyone informed on what's going on. Energize Denver is going to be April 8th. Seattle will be April 22nd. We will be posting these also on LinkedIn, so you could follow along there. But let us know if you have any questions. We're happy to help either on the benchmarking side, data verification, or the BPS part. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, everybody.